Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
And here joining me is the former head of the Bureau of Legislative Research, Mr. David Ferguson. David, welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Really glad that you could be with us. So tell us just a little bit about, well, first of all, let me ask you this. What do you think of the internet sales tax proposal that, that failed and is now being brought back by the Municipal League and that sort of thing, all that pressure?
Well, I guess my main problem with it, so I'll just start saying I have a problem with it. They're trying to sell it as a device to help mom and pop stores compete with those mean, nasty internet stores. That's just not the case. When you look at what the situation would play out to be, this is going to put mom and pop stores out of business, and let me explain why.
Wow, that's a completely different narrative than the big government folks.
Well, what they're telling you is, okay, Arkansas passes this sales tax on internet purchases. Now, it's unconstitutional under current law, a case law with the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So they'd have to overturn that. And so it's unlikely it's going to overturn that. We're just going to end up spending money for a case that is going to go nowhere. But let's assume the Supreme Court changes its mind and says, oh my gosh, Arkansas, you can collect sales tax from out-of-state sellers. Well, that's kind of like taking the first blow and hitting the big bully. Arkansas doesn't get to throw the only punch. If Arkansas passes an internet sales tax, get ready for Missouri, California, Wisconsin, Florida, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, all to pass these internet sales taxes. And suddenly the mom and pop stores here in Arkansas are having to comply with taxes in all these states. It's not just figuring out how many different rates there are in the different states. It's using all their forms from those other states. It's trying to comply with their timelines.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
So now let me give you an example from the Jonesboro area. My wife buys crafts, and one of the places she buys crafts is from a lady in Jonesboro. And let's assume, she's in Arkansas, so there'd be a sales tax that would apply. No problem. But now take that same lady who's probably, I don't know, but probably operating out of her house, starting this small business, and they're probably not making a lot of profit margin off of this craft business. Mm-hmm. Now she gets somebody that orders the same type of craft kit from Illinois or New York or whatever. Now she has to comply with all these different tax rates. She's not going to have the big computer systems of a Walmart or Amazon to figure out what all applies. There's just no way that she would be able to compete.
I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about the you just mentioned the software. I mean, you're talking about really expensive software that's going to figure out local, state taxes, county taxes, and municipal taxes. That's daunting when you think about it.
It's huge. So, just think of this. Do small mom and pop stores have a lobbyist that goes to the legislature? No. Who has the lobbyists? It's the big box stores. Walmart could hire not only a few lobbyists, they can hire an army of lobbyists.
Yeah.
So who is it that the legislature is trying to take care of? Well, Walmart is already physically present, and that's the deal. If you're not physically present in a state, you don't have to collect their sales tax.
Yeah.
Walmart's physically present just about everywhere. Some places don't want them, but they're physically present. They're collecting. Now you take not just the craft store. Let's take, for instance, the kind of store that I have to use. I go to a parts store for my tractor locally. Love it, but I have a tractor that is very old. It's international, which is not even International Harvester. It's international. It was built in England. I'm about at least the third, no telling how many owners down the line I am. I have to get parts. A lot of time the local guy can't find parts, so I
Yep.
have to scour the internet.
Exactly.
And what I'm finding is, say, someplace in Iowa that got stuck with all these parts, and they can now sell them over the internet and get rid of them to people like me, who just a small market, but they can use the internet. Well, now you tell those guys, you've got to comply with all these different sales taxes. They're just going to say, forget it. We're going to sell all this inventory to somebody else.
And they call this e-fairness, though, and it's almost as if they act like that a brick-and-mortar shop, the government is just assuming that you only have intentions to be a brick-and-mortar shop forever, that you will never go into any kind of internet business again, right?
Right,
or ever.
And that's one of the things is, just think about how many places in Arkansas that maybe started out as a mom and pop store with a physical store that also starts selling things online.
A lot.
In fact, there's a commercial about somebody who's doing some kind of work, and a guy goes, "Hey, I'm the internet. We can sell this stuff." People may end up with a big inventory from a store that closed down. They may have some kind of special device that they're selling. They're small. You're going to kill those people with all these different regulations from all these different states. And instead of encouraging businesses, you're going to kill them.
Yeah.
Now, the fairness, right now it is complete fairness, because every state that wants to have a tax has to leave it alone if that business does not have a physical presence in the state. So Arkansas businesses that have some internet business selling out of state where they're not there, they're not having to collect a sales tax. Same way from that other state.
So that is fair.
That is fair. Everybody's treated the same if you don't have a physical presence. And
they say but they say it's not fair. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. We just got to continue to win, And right now, they just want to keep bringing this back up until it passes.
Well, if you're trying to compete with Walmart, you're a small guy. They've pretty well put downtown wherever out of business. If that guy's got the little store, can get another little niche where he can send out a few items on the internet, or even a guy who sells new items on eBay or whatever, he can supplement that income.
That may be the difference. Yeah,
it would be the difference in going out. And
so don't listen to the big. So the big box stores. It's. I mean, come on. It doesn't. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Why are the big box stores on the same side as quote mom and pop? That's just being used as a ruse. It's been called a ruse. You think that's true?
Well, definitely. I mean, now some of the people may believe this. They've been fed a line. They believe it. But it's just an excuse, because everybody likes their mom and pop stores and want them to succeed. They're just not accounting that Arkansas is going to have some mom and pop stores that's doing an internet business, and they're going to be competing in other states. They can't compete if they're having to collect all these taxes and buy all this software. It just knock them out of business.
So Supreme Court, though, it is unconstitutional to put a tax on we don't have jurisdiction. Arkansas doesn't have jurisdiction over a business in Indiana that doesn't have a presence in Arkansas. They want that to change. What would that mean? I mean, if the Supreme Court, first of all, if the Supreme Court ruled that you can now do that, I mean, we're talking about a serious uprooting of market precedent right now. I mean, I think it would be chaos.
Well, what would happen is there would first be a competition among states, with more and more of them trying to impose these taxes, meaning that you're going to have businesses in Arkansas are going to collect less from their out-of-state customers. Same thing in the other states. Arkansas consumers are going to pay more taxes and have less purchasing power. And then the next thing is going to happen is, while there's some states that's passed it and some that doesn't pass it, assuming it was declared constitutional, the next step is they step in and say, "Oh, Congress, come save us." That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Congress, come save us. And what they want to do, and it's talked about in the resolution, is have Congress step in and set a national sales tax that's going to go back.
Okay, and that's the way they could get around
That is the end game. That is what this whole thing is about, because Arkansas passing it is just, it would just be the match. Assuming it was constitutional, it would just be the match. Then all the states start going after this.
And then okay.
Then the feds.
And so Walmart kind of just wants Arkansas to be used as just a test case to get that ball rolling. I mean, that's a speculation, but I think that's the case.
And that's the case with some other states too. But Walmart, let's use them as an example. It's not necessarily them, which probably is, but assuming they lose, it's not constitutional. They can say, oh, Arkansas and these other states is trying to get their fair share, and they lost. So what do we need to do? Pass a federal tax. We're going to save them. So either way, they win, but by pushing the ball forward to get that federal tax. That's where we're going. That's what all of this is about.
Is a national sales tax on internet purchases.
Yeah, and here's the.
And then for fairness, we need a national sales tax on all purchases.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. You know that would come next eventually.
Well, and of course, there's a sidelight to this provision that Arkansas had. You were going to also, if they didn't collect the tax for them, they were going to have to list all their customers' names and addresses and how much they spent. And there's all kind of specialty shops. I mean, first thing anybody thinks of is probably, what if they went to one of them Naughty Bits stores, and bought something weird.
Yeah.
Now the state has that information. But just think about this. Let's say you're in Pocahontas and you've just been flooded out, and you decide, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to buy some things for personal survival, and you buy it from someplace with survivalist in the name. The state now thinks you are a survivalist and you're a weird guy or something.
Off the grid.
Yeah.
They'll probably come and take your kids. I'm sorry. I mean, think about it. DCFS, that's what they did with the Stanley family. They didn't like some kind of – and then, we now know that they didn't do anything illegal. They were living an unconventional life, and that's why their kids got taken from them.
Let's say you buy a scope for your hunting rifle. Well, they've got to say that you don't buy it from a big box store. You buy it from a place that makes scopes.
Yeah.
The state now has that on. And how we can't even get our Discover cards and things like that to keep from leaking our information. Just think about the government, whose technology is probably much worse.
It's bad. It's a bad deal. Well, Dave Ferguson, I appreciate you coming on the program. I'll give you anything else to wrap this up, but I mean, you made some great points. That internet sales tax is not about fairness, and it actually is going to hurt mom and pop stores. Really interesting perspective.
And here's one, just leave you with one thing. I am tired of people saying, oh, Amazon is voluntarily collecting the tax in Arkansas, and maybe the fact that we had a bill got them to do it. No. When Amazon said, we will collect the tax, is because they knew they were buying Whole Foods. Whole Foods has stores in Arkansas, which means they were going to have to collect the tax anyway, so they may have collected it for 3 or 4 months sooner than they would have had, and they got the free publicity. They were going to Amazon is a store that
would have had a physical presence at that point.
Will have a physical presence. They are required. So they're not the example anymore.
Wow.
That's it.
David Ferguson, appreciate it. Former head of the Bureau of Legislative Research. Folks, it's Johnny Cash Friday. We will be back in just a moment.